there used to be a house right here. It was a house that I used to live in as a small boy. I have many memories here, from watching vegetables grow in the garden, to mowing the yard, and watching the concrete poured for the garage that was right here. I also remember coming back home from school and riding my bike down the street. It's interesting to think back to a time when I thought life would always be so simple and that this area would never change. But as with many things over time, we both experienced the same thing: progress. For me, it was growing up to be the person that I am today. For this land, it was a realization that what is under the surface holds more value than what is on top. And that's not a bad thing. To the contrary, it's necessary to find and use resources from the ground to help us with everyday life. In this area of northern Minnesota, it was taconite used to make steel. In other places, it's nickel or lithium that's used in batteries, or gas used to keep homes warm and to drive us around. Growing up in this environment made me appreciate many things, including what is under the ground that we stand on. And if we cannot reuse it or make more of it, then that makes it a limited resource. Gasoline falls into that category. We can extract what's in the ground, but once we use it, it's gone. Sure, we can always find more, but at some point it's going to become more difficult to do so, and this makes us increasingly reliant on someone else to not only find it, but to bring it out of the ground, to refine it, and to deliver it to us so our cars can keep running.
There's a rush to repair and clean up a ruptured part of the Keystone Pipeline.
I never used to think about this, always taking fuel for granted, but we've seen on the news what occurs during times of emergency.
Store has not opened. No one has been able to pump gas.
Fuel pipeline stretching from New Jersey to Texas finally back in business after a massive cyber attack.
A state of emergency after a gas leak in California has led to fears of a shortage.
Then we start to realize how reliant we are on this resource. I'm not an environmentalist, but I am for taking steps to become more self-reliant. This is the story of the path that led me to purchase a Tesla. My own journey into electric transportation started just a few years ago. At that time, and for years prior, I drove a truck to work every day. I love the power of a truck and its utility, its ability to go off-road, to haul things around, and more easily get me from point A to point B in fresh winter snow. However, the reality was that I was driving a few hundred miles each week, mostly without payload or passengers, just to get to the office or pick up some groceries. For years, an electric car had been in the back of my mind as a possibility, and I have to thank Tesla for that, with a supercharger around the corner from my house. One day when driving my truck, I heard a loud knocking coming from the engine. Once I got it to the service center, I learned that the repair could be anywhere from $4,000 to $9,000, depending on what type of engine I bought to replace it. With over 100,000 miles on a 7-year-old truck, it was time to cut my losses and find another vehicle. While I owned the truck, gas prices had gone up and down, but mostly up, and it was common to spend $100 or more to fill the tank every 2 weeks, and for that stop to occur during the middle of a busy workday, when I didn't really have time or desire to stop. I knew that my next vehicle was going to be more fuel efficient, but wasn't quite ready for a fully electric car, so I test drove a few hybrids. We bought the Chevrolet Volt in April of 2019, and we still have this car in our garage today. What the Volt gave me was a taste of driving electric. The acceleration was great, much better than my truck, and it used a lot less gas. What I didn't expect was that it would take several hours to charge a battery, which limits the electric portion of driving mainly to driving around town. Any road trip by default is mainly on gas after the 50-mile or so battery range had been exhausted. But we were happy with the Volt, and that is until Tesla announced they were going to start shipping a larger version of the Model 3, which they called the Model Y. After researching the Model Y, I learned that it was the first Tesla to offer a heat pump for better drive efficiency. It had safety designed in mind and 66 cubic feet of cargo space, which definitely met our needs. After taking a friend's Model 3 out for a ride, I decided to place an order in March of 2020, the exact month that Tesla started to ship the Model Y. The huge backlog of orders that didn't expect to get one anytime in 2020. But I was wrong. After only 2 months on the waiting list, I received a text from Tesla that I would receive a VIN and expect delivery by June. I've owned this car ever since. Almost 4 decades ago, when I learned how to drive, I would have never imagined that I'd be driving an electric vehicle in the 2020s, especially one with as much technology and acceleration as this one has. Now, will I be driving an electric vehicle 10, 20, or 30 years from now? It's likely, but I have no idea how vehicles will change over that time. But I can answer one question. I do enjoy driving an electric car today, and I definitely do see a role for one in our future. With the combination of solar, I also take comfort in feeling more self-reliant in transportation, and I know that I'm saving a gallon of gas, or maybe a few thousand gallons, for somebody else to use. It's interesting what the last 30 years has brought to our lives, from cell phones that now function as our everything tool, to shopping online, to driving cars with autopilot. There's really only one word to describe it: